welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. And guess what, fam? It's playoff time. Playoff time. The goal that the heads of TSM had set, they are currently looking like they are going to accomplish. So, yay for us, right? Hopefully, yay for us. We will be playing FlyQuest. Sorry, you guys have to see the side of my head. Currently, I'm pulling up my piece that I'm doing on the game, the games, I should say. As a reminder, we'll be starting, I believe, today at 4. Make sure this is right here. 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. TSM v FlyQuest. The start of the LCS playoffs and the LEC playoffs for the week. Oh, it's going to be fun. Lots of games coming up this weekend. And this is probably the most relaxed I've ever been for a playoff game because while fun and exciting, it probably doesn't really matter all too much. Unless if we're trying to get a better look at what we're going to do for the future, which is, I think, the way we'll have to kind of look at this, to be honest with you. And so we're going to talk about this game and this game alone. There's not really a whole lot else to talk about right now. I can tell you that there is a small chance, very small chance, that I'll be doing like an emergency weekend episode. Because I think there will be moves coming. I guess that's a leak, but not really. Like, it's speculation on my part, mostly. I have heard some things, but I think it's mostly speculation for right now. I think teams will potentially wait till at least the end of the LCS playoffs, but that could be wrong. So if there are some moves and things that happen, then we may do Talking TSM shorts, 5-10 minute little ones there on what's going on. So I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below if you would like stuff like that. If it was just quick little update videos, and then we talked about them more in depth, on the actual episodes. I don't know. Some I'm toying with a lot of different things here, with what we're going to potentially do in the future. So, with that though, let's hop into this FlyQuest v TSM or TSM v FlyQuest, whichever way you're feeling. What I did, and I'll have a piece coming out on this that'll have my thoughts at least a little bit more written out. I'll be kind of talking off the cuff here. You can check out thegamehouse.com for that. But what I did is I kind of went through each player and looked at their champions, what they did well this year. I'm going to read off some of the interesting things that I found out with each player, and then we're just going to kind of go from there. So, as a reminder, FlyQuest obviously went 10-8. They were the 6th seed. They were 4 games ahead of us. So pretty big gap. But the one thing that did go well for us, and something that I believe both teams ended up doing, was going 3-3. FlyQuest obviously went on that nice 3-0 rampage at the end of the split in Super Week to really propel themselves into the playoffs, and I think a pretty good way. That included beating us, which was a thing. That was us losing was a thing. But they then went on to lose 3-1 in the upper bracket to Team Liquid, winning game 1 and then dropping the last 3. I'll dive into those games at least a little bit more here shortly as well. But we'll start with Philip. 2.2 KDA. For the split. Goal difference at 10 was plus 102, so good laning phase. Obviously, his CS per minute was a little over 8, which is to be expected for a top laner when you're not giving him, a lot of resources. He gets a lot of those leads on his own, and then just, kind of has to start feeding over any minions and stuff to his carries. Sometimes, obviously, top laners will get him. He did sometimes as well, but, it takes time. His top champions were, no surprise here, well, at least for one of them, Aatrox, Gwen, and Sejuani. Surprisingly, his Aatrox he was only 2-4 on, including that one game that basically helped them win. Did basically win them game one against Team Liquid. But he only has a 1.5 KDA on it, so I was kind of like, well, I don't think we want to give him Aatrox. I think we just don't want to be stupid when the way we play him with Aatrox. Like, not that Bubba was stupid, because I think he just made a bad calculation on one thing that kind of snowballed the game, but I think we personally don't want to be stupid, and solo's not dumb, so this works out for us. Then we have the Gwen. 3-1 on that Gwen with a 2.5 KDA. Not bad in 4 games. Like, pretty solid. Sejuani, 2-1 with a 3.4 KDA. So, he plays well. Like, he's got a couple champions that I think he's pretty good at, and then I think he can kind of be, pushed out maybe a little bit. Now, he's got plenty of other champions that he can play, but those are his 3 best, and I think we'll really start to see more of how he develops, in this series even potentially. So it was really, really, really interesting to watch because, he was the hero of game 1, right? And really made these things, made it look like it was going to be a series. It was not. Jose Dioto, 3.3 KDA, goal difference at 10, 103. Not much. Again, not much for... I'm going to just let you know, most of FlyQuest either barely had a loss or barely had a lead overall in laning. They weren't doing anything substantial. 100 gold's still not bad, but it's not huge. It's two health pots. But kill participation was pretty okay for Jose Dioto. Basically part of 67%, 2/3 of his team's kills. His top champions, he played Wukong 6 times but went 1-5 on it with a 1.36 KDA. Lee Sin, 3-1 in 4 games. And this is where, you want to take these champions away from him, even though I know they're not necessarily as much in the meta. But Lee Sin, 3-1 with a 5.29, so almost a 5.3 KDA. Viego, 3-1 with a 5.25. He loves those engaged champs, man. And those 2 champions were pretty good for him. So, and he'll obviously play the Vi as well, but he didn't really bring that out till playoffs. So, I would honestly think that he might be on Viego duty, which if I'm TSM, I'd consider banning Viego right now, but we'll go through bans and stuff here in a little bit. Here's their stud, obviously, Takui, 5.2 KDA. Goal difference at 10 was -4, so pretty much dead even. He had the second least deaths in the mid lane in the LCS, 26. Only Bjergsen had less, and it was 7 less. So a decent amount, but not anything crazy, right? That's like 1 bad game, 2 normal games worth. His best champions, Ahri, LeBlanc, and Azir. On Ahri, 6 games, 4-2 with a 5 KDA. That might be something we want to get rid of. LeBlanc, 5 games, 2-3, 2.87 KDA. I'd be more okay with. He really didn't get many kills with LeBlanc. I was looking at these games. He didn't die much. He didn't get many kills, but he did enough damage to where he was getting a lot of assists and everything else. So LeBlanc is more of a setup pick for them if they end up doing it. He's not going to necessarily carry with it. At least hasn't yet this year. Azir, 4 games, 2-2, 4.7 KDA. I believe Azir should probably be banned out. If not, then I think you're trolling. But we'll get to that when we get to us. Johnson, 3.4 KDA, goal difference at 10, plus 71. He was actually 3rd in kills for bot. For those of you who were questioning whether he'd be good fantasy-wise, Johnson was pretty solid with Afromoon fantasy-wise. That was the only point I was trying to make. You know who you are. Shout out to you because you're doing some pretty cool stuff behind the scenes. Sivir, he's played 5 games, including playoffs, 2-3 honor, 4.08 KDA. Jinx, 3-1, 6.75 KDA, but then things fell off. Twitch, 4 games, 1.1-3 with a 1.94 KDA. So, and he really, the one thing that is very interesting about Johnson is he only has 1 game of Zeri. Now, I don't know if teams were just banning it out against him a lot. I'd have to go back and really, really check, but I'm very intrigued by the fact that his KDA, or that he didn't play enough Zeri games for it to even be in his top champions. So I know she was getting banned a lot. I know she's still strong, obviously, but that might be a pick that you could give over without it being too much of an issue. The one game he did play on her, I believe, I'd have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure he lost, if I remember correctly. So take that as you will. All right, Aframu, 3.5 KDA. I did XP difference because gold difference doesn't matter here. But XP difference at 10, plus 24. Again, basically even. What was interesting was his kill participation was 71.4%. Pretty solid. Tom Kench, 3 games, 3-0, 7.33 KDA. I believe that those games are probably with the Jinx, to be honest with you. If I am TSM and you see them picking either one of these champions in the first round and they're not together, then you either need to take one of them away or you need to ban it in your second round. Now, if this combo does pretty well in game 1 or something like that, then you need to ban it for the rest of it because they play Jinx Tom Kench pretty well. So, yeah. Lulu, 2-1, 2.75 KDA. And then the Nami. Interesting that they played as much Nami as they did, considering they didn't play as much Lucian. But I know that Aframu likes Nami. It's a good pick. He's been playing long enough. He knows the strengths and weaknesses of that champion. 6 KDA, 2-1 in 3 games. One of them including being playoffs. So, and we saw that. It was solid. It was fine. Okay, now we head to TSM. Obviously 6-12. Anybody who's watching this show probably knows that. But quick reminder: we went 1-3 against FlyQuest this year. Sad. We lost our last one against them, obviously, but hey, we won the first one, and we stomped them in the first one. That one though was with Soul on the team. But we have Solo in our top lane, 2.7 KDA. Now I want you guys to know everything I'm talking to you about is from the summer split. Okay. Whether it's in academy or playoffs or whatever. Like, I'm not talking about spring. I'm not talking about in the past, right? Like, because champions change a lot and the meta changes a lot and the way you build items and do everything else changes a lot. Now, they may understand the base mechanics of these champions quite a bit, but, one of the things I think is interesting about League of Legends is to a certain degree, right? With the way the builds go and everything, you can play the champion multiple different ways. I always look at these things, especially going into a playoff series, as what is the most recent meta and, the way that the champion has been played. So, take that as you will. 2.7 KDA. XP difference at 10, 174. Relatively significant. It's a pretty decent chunk. CS per minute, 8. I just wanted to put that in there, too, because he and Philip are kind of the same, but you can see that Solo gets a lot less resources later on in the game. I mean, it's just a fact. You can see it happening. Top champions. Ornn, 6 games, including Academy, 4-2 with a 4.22 KDA. After that, Solo's played a lot of different champions. His champion pool is obviously pretty nice. Nothing. It's not like an ocean or anything, but it's solid. 1-1 with a 3.67 on the Gnar. Sejuani, 2 games, or I guess it was, I messed this one up. I believe he was also 1-1 on the Sejuani. I think I have 2-1 here. I'll have to check. But I think it's 1-1 with a 3.375 KDA, so basically a 3.4 KDA. Spica, 2.9 KDA. Kill participation, 77.7. I had been very critical of him last year about this. Now, that's kind of the way the TSM played. Now they needed, Spica to kind of be the carry. So him being in almost 4 out of 5 kills makes sense to me, honestly. I think you're accounting for solo kills basically outside of Spica. Otherwise, he's been involved. He is tied for second in kills for junglers at 50. Only behind Inspired, and I think he's tied with Closer. So, interesting little factoid there that I didn't realize. Top champions, obviously, Viego, 6 games, 2-4, 2.88 KDA. Wukong, 2 games, 2-0, 5.6 KDA. Xin Zhao, 2-0, 26 KDA. Yes, he has never died on Xin Zhao. That has to be a pocket pick to me. If I'm them, I'm either having Spica play Wukong or Xin Zhao every single game. I said this on Hot Takes. Go check that out over on Germ's channel if you haven't seen it yet. It got released last night, I want to believe. I'm saying, yeah, because I'm recording this in the morning of Thursday. Apologies. I needed a little bit of time to get some other stuff done to get to this. But regardless, TSM generally during playoffs will have Spica play one champion unless if they ban it, basically every game. Sometimes it's a meta champion. Sometimes it's like a little bit off of the meta. Like it's still meta, but it's in like the third pick instead of the first, right? And then they ban out the other ones. I personally believe that they should probably just ban the Viego because I don't really care if Spica plays it, to be honest with you, and then just let whatever happens after that, because I don't think they're going to ban out Wukong and Xin Zhao, at least not in the first game or two, unless if he just takes over game one with one of them. So I think those are the two picks that they're going to lean on. I know that they have a good stats group of people. Like, I'm sure they're seeing the same things that I am. And I know Wukong is still very strong, and I think Xin Zhao he's not super strong or anything, but I think Spica just plays him really well. I think he understands the depths of the champion very intimately. So, I mean, when you've never died on it and you have a 26 KDA in 2 games, so, 13 KDA in each game respectively, like, you just got to go with it, in my opinion. So, yeah, pretty strong champion pool for him there. Maple, 2.8. Gold difference at 10, minus 31. CS per minute, 9. So, he farms pretty well. Azir, 2-4 with a 2.93 KDA. Swain, 2 games, 1-1 with a 7.5 KDA. And Ari, 2 games, 1-1 with a 2.71. He had also played Corki, obviously, a bit too, but Corki's like completely out of the meta. I don't think that they would ever pick Corki right now, so I didn't want to put him in there. Again, I think Azir is either going to be first pick or ban. I know neither of these guys necessarily have like the best ranking on him, but he is just extremely strong. I don't think anybody's really found a great counter to him yet. I would love to see Maple play Swain. I would love it. I think Swain would do a lot for this team, a lot for him. It would be great, in my opinion. So, yeah, I prefer that. Instinct. 3.5 KDA, goal difference at 10. This is a big one. Minus 335. Now, he is being left alone a lot. But he always finds his way back into the game later. His CSing, I was worried about. It's not great early on either, so he's going to have to hopefully figure that out, or they're going to have to figure something else out. What was interesting is that he was first in kill participation for the bot lane at 75.2%. What does that mean? Well, when they're fighting, he's there and he's involved, right? And it's because they're not really, like, he's not solo killing anybody in the bot lane, which is fine, and he's not really getting the resources early on, which is also okay, because they're pretty much just putting him on scaling picks. Sivir, 2-2, 5.75 KDA in 4 games. This one's interesting. In 6 games, including Academy, Zeri, he's 1-5, but he has a 4.56 KDA. And it's not like he's like necessarily just cowering back. Like, he's still getting kills and stuff. I mean, we saw him go in. I think he needs to be a little bit more aggressive early on instead of later. But the Zeri pick is interesting. And then he's got Ezreal, 6 games, all in Academy, 1-5, 2.25 KDA. Hope we don't see an Ezreal. Yeah. Last one is Chime here. I still have Aphrodite. See, it's a good thing I'm reading this over with you guys. I forgot to change that out. But Chime also has a 3.5 KDA. His XP difference at 10 was minus 111. That's because he's sacrificing XP to run around and be involved in kills and stuff. He is first in kill participation for supports at 80.3%. I think he's got one of the highest kill participations in the league, by the way, too. So, pretty cool. Top champions, Rakan. We kind of assumed that. 4 games, including Academy, 2-2 with an 8 KDA. I want to see Rakan, baby. Bring it out. Yumi, 4 games. If it doesn't get banned, 3-1 with a 9.2 KDA. Then Bard, 4 games, 1-3 with a 2.8 KDA. Now, the reason I went through all of that and spent 15 minutes on that was because I truly believe that us understanding these champions, their champion pools, the way things are going is very important, right? And so when we look at the way that, FlyQuest and Team Liquid played, that game 1, really, they just kind of let FlyQuest snowball, right? The kill into Bwipo. Bjergsen, realistically, like, we cannot pick an immobile champion into a Vi. Ever, right? Like, not that it matters once Vi presses R, but if you have a champion that can at least move back or something and bring this Vi into the back line before the rest of the team can get there, yes, she's still going to be able to lock down whoever the mid laner is, but there's also a chance that that mid laner, thus being Maple in this situation, is not in range or something like that, right? So I am of the opinion that, they're going to probably pick Vi at least once, potentially in game 1, and we have to make sure that, Maple's on like Azir or Ari, preferably. Even, honestly, Lissandra would be pretty good here, or Silas. Any of those 4 champions, literally any of those 4, I would be very okay with him on. But we saw what happened, because then, that was like a 40-minute game. But then once Team Liquid kind of figured out what they needed to do, right, they focused a little bit more on Philip specifically and Jose Diodo, and they just kind of ignored Takui and Johnson. They won. 26-minute game in game 2. 30-minute game in game 3. And then a 24, almost 25-minute game in game 4. Okay? This team can get picked and banned into it being a problem, right? You can see in game 2, so the first game bans for Team Liquid, Yuumi, Lulu, Gwen, in the second part, Jarvan, Jax. Now, the Jax, I think, was to allow for Bwipo to pick what he wanted, but then obviously that didn't work out. But then in game 2, they switched it up a little bit. They got rid of the Yuumi, Lulu still, which I think we could potentially get away with. I don't know. I guess they're just too strong to allow through. So if we don't think that we can get Yuumi first pick, or Lulu first pick, then yeah, I'd say ban them. But then they banned the Vi, which I think changed things pretty drastically. They still banned the Gwen, and then they banned the Aatrox in game 2. Game 3, Yuumi, Lulu, Sivir on red side, okay? And then they ended up banning out Zeri and Aphelios, which put Johnson down onto Lucian. I'm going to come back to that. Then game 4. Yuumi, Lulu, Vi, and this is on red side again, Aatrox, Aphelios. Okay? Here's the deal. I believe that what we have to do is ban out bot side and then have us play through solo. I believe that's what we're going to need to do, because it's pretty clear that if Johnson's not getting one of the big guys in Sivir, apparently at least Aphelios, Zeri, even though he doesn't play it, right, he kind of just doesn't do a whole lot. So if I'm TSM, what I would do personally is I would be banning for starters, the Yuumi, the Lulu, and I would also ban the Aphelios, okay? Because then, especially if we're on blue side to start, which I don't think we will be, we'll probably be red side. So probably Yuumi, Lulu, and then what would be a good red side ban here? Probably the Vi, actually. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think you copy that recipe of success, and I think you ban that out, and then I don't know what they're going to pick first pick. It might even be better to pick Sivir, actually. Yeah, I would ban out the Sivir, actually. So I would do Yuumi, Lulu, Sivir, okay? Then they're probably going to pick either Vi or they're going to pick Zeri, I would guess. And then what I would think that we would do is we just respond in kind. I think, if they don't pick the Vi, then I think either we pick it or I think we do our bot lane completely, and then potentially go for the Wukong. Blue side is winning more often right now. It's pretty clear that that's the case. Although obviously in this game it didn't matter as much because I think Team Liquid was just so much better. But there are, I think, and then you can also see even with Bjergsen, right? Like after that game 1 where he played a pretty immobile champion, he goes into Azir in game 2. In game 3, he goes into Swain, who is still immobile, but it's kind of hard to knock him down right away as a Vi. And then in game 3 game 4 he plays the Ahri. I think he got the same read that I am too. If the mid laner can play something mobile, then the rest of it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. I think you can play whatever you want on the bot side. I think you play something tanky on the top side. Like, if they don't ban Ornn, I wouldn't mind a first round Ornn also, to be honest with you. Let Philip try to play something, carry style into it, because I just don't think that's going to matter very much, to be honest with you. And, if we can get topside control, then I don't think dragons will matter as much in this game, at least not early on. It'll be the way, obviously, that FlyQuest are going to try to play into countering us. But if I'm TSM, I'm trying to get solo ahead. We get the first couple rifts, well, the only 2 rifts, hopefully, at least one. Have it knock down mid or top tower, and then transition bot side into the top, and then start going bot to get dragons. I think it's a pretty simple plan. I really, the more I look at this, I'm like, okay, if you can keep Takui contained, if you put Philip behind, right, and you don't give Johnson his picks, I think that's kind of how you win against FlyQuest right now. Johnson's pool seemingly is a little bit lower than most, or maybe it was just that TL's bot lane was just cracked, which obviously Hansama bringing out that big euphemism word pick in terms of the Draven was pretty crazy, especially after they just lost, and then he goes, hey, I'm gonna go 10-1-4 on this SOB and just crush you guys. So yeah, I mean, that seems to be the path to me. Is I think, when I look at I like to do this again, right? When I look at our, like, lane by lane, I think solo is at least as good, if not better, than Philip. I believe he's better than Philip, but, if Philip has confidence, I think he can at least go toe-to-toe with Solo, but I don't think that's going to be the case coming into this one. So I think we'll have the advantage there. I think Spica's still way better jungler than Jose Diodo, so nix that. Takui's way better than Maple, but I think Maple's good at least kind of keeping the lane state even and punishing a roamer if they really try to roam too much. So he won't necessarily be out on the map as much, but I think he can at least control the mid lane enough to keep Takui, at least hopefully, from popping off in the early game, which is, I think, going to be pretty important. Both of these teams try to win through, us and FlyQuest try to win through early game. Whoever has a better early game is going to be who wins this game, I think, or this series. I believe Johnson's better than Instinct, at least as of right now. And then I think Aframu's better than Chime as well. So that's where I think if you can try to neutralize Johnson as much as you can, try to get your first pick, and for your AD carry, whatever that may be, whether it's the Zeri, whether it's the Sivir. After that, I don't really know. We'll have to see. Hopefully you get one of those too. Then I think Johnson just becomes less of a threat, which if you can nullify Solo by continuously pushing into him, and if you can nullify Johnson by taking away some of his best champions and his most comfortable champions, then, and obviously attacking the support as everybody else did with this Aframu, bands of the Yuumi and the Lulu, then I think TSM have a pretty good chance here. Now, I will say I put this out on Hot Takes before I really did much deeper research, but I do believe that we're going to win this one 3-2. I think it is going to go to 5 games. I don't think we're that great, but I do think that the difference between us and FlyQuest, sorry, you guys can't really see this, but I think we went from we were down here out of the side of the screen, and then FlyQuest were up here. I think we came up and they came down. We're about even with them. I think this will be one of the most even playoff matches. Yeah, at least this weekend. There are going to be some good ones, though. I mean, TL 100 Thieves is going to be amazing. I cannot wait. And C9 is going to bring out some crazy stuff for EG. Fudge is seemingly confident about it. But yeah, I am going to predict us to win this one. I know it may seem like a surprise to you guys, but I think it's going to go two ways. I either think FlyQuest are going to 3-0 stomp us, or I think it's going to be really close, and I think we're gonna win in Game 5. I really believe that this team wants to win. I mean, that was the whole point, right? Like, the whole point was to make playoffs and for some reason, to make playoffs and to try to make a run. I don't know that we will go beyond this. I'm just going to state that right now. I don't really care who we play of the top 4 teams that are still left. I don't know that there's a great matchup. Unless if C9 look terrible or TL look really bad against 100 Thieves, right? I just don't know that we're going to have a great chance. I don't think we're going to have a bad chance, but I don't know that we're going to have a great chance either in these next ones. So I think we should enjoy this one, and I think, hope for us to really learn, adapt, and hopefully Chawi and Kays hopefully really pay attention during draft. Like, they really start trying to big brain this draft, because best of 5s, that's what it's all about, right? Is understanding how to draft and win after game 1. Like, game 1 is basically like a one game, a best of 1. You come in with something planned, and then you have to start adapting after that. If we win game 1, great. If we can adapt better than them, great. But again, they're going to probably have side selection. They're probably going to have blue. I'm going to predict that we're going to probably lose game 1. Then we'll take blue side, and I think it's going to be really important. That first pick is going to be really important. And I think the first bans plus that first pick are going to be extremely important. I cannot emphasize how important. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I really am. And it's been a while since I've actually predicted us to win anything. I kind of predicted some, I think one game during week 8, and that's fine, I guess. But I am predicting us to win this series. I am fairly confident that we can do it. It sounds so bad. I know. I really do get it. Like, you guys are probably like, dude, Rob, come on. Like, you're not sounding very confident. Like, I really do think we win this series. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of us would like. But I don't know. I'm very happy with the way that at least this team's trying to figure it out. And again, I like winning. I still have my problems with things that are being done, and I think some of those things are going to be remedied here over the next couple months. But for right now, living in this moment with this team, I want to see Instinct personally pop off. I want him to earn that spot. I want to see Instinct and Chime prove everybody wrong. I want to see them just absolutely pop off. And I want to see Instinct do it on a non-Zeri champion. Again, we went over his stats. His Zeri stats weren't great. But I really do want to see him late game carry a game. I want to see him try to take over a game. I think it can happen. And I want to see Chime. They're not going to ban Rakan. I think we need to pick Rakan, as long as there's not a super big counter and we don't think, because if we get Ornn Rakan, I don't really think it matters what you put in the middle. But an ideal comp for me would be Ornn in the top lane, Wukong, because I think they'll pick that over Xin Zhao. But Ornn, Wukong. I'm gonna say Ahri. Ahri, and then Sivir Rakan, something like that. Even Xayah Rakan, honestly, if you're gonna really play for the late game. But that would be an ideal comp for me. And I think it's one that we'll see. And I think that we'll see a lot of iterations of it. I think if Solo gets Ornn, I think Spica said it in an interview recently as well, Solo Ornn is just filthy. It's probably his best champion ever. If I'm TSM, I just freaking run it Ornn every single time. It doesn't matter the matchup. Ornn's matchups do not matter. You're going to scale. Now, you're going to have to pick winning lanes. That's why I kind of want the Ahri. I think she's able to win lane and roam around. And, I think the Wukong is also able to win early and mid, honestly. And then he's obviously kind of like a CC bot in the late game. But I don't think we're going to pick winning lanes in bot, and I don't really think we're going to pick him top, especially if we're playing the Ornn. Now, the way he plays Ornn, you might. But I want to see Solo on tanks, exclusively. I don't want to screw around and give him something fun or exciting or whatever. I don't even really want to see him on a bruiser. Have him frontline, have him be engaged, have him be a disruption. he will find a way to at least keep the lane state in the top lane neutral, if not ahead. That's where then you can allow Spica to help get him out of lane early, then transition it into your later game carries, into Maple, and to Instinct. I think there's a game plan there. The only way this gets messed up is if Solo doesn't play well into Phillip, or if Takui really puts on his carry pants. He's been smurfing. He is very good. I don't think this team plays around him as well as they should. He seemingly is like that Zeri game where he had like 13 kills and they still lost. Excuse me. Absolute tragedy. Realistically, like one of the worst things I've ever seen. Because he played so well and the rest of his team was just so bad. I think this FlyQuest team is going to be very good. They're very interesting. But I still really like them. I've talked them up a lot. I think they can be very, very good. But I also think they're pretty beatable with this strategy. So last time for the strategy, man, I think you nullify Phillip, you nullify Takui in terms of just like lane state picks. You give comfort to Solo and to Maple, and I think you'll be okay. I think you give Spica something super engagey. Wukong / Xin Zhao. Maybe Lee Sin, I guess, but Lee's pretty out of the meta. He's pretty terrible right now, so I'd prefer not. And then I think you ban bot lane and support. I think you ban AD carries and support, and I think you'll win games. So, again, I got us winning in 5. It's going to be fun. It's going to be close. We'll get some silver scrapes. And it's a start to what should be a very fun weekend. So, I'm nervous. I can't believe I'm nervous. I'm less nervous than I've ever been for a playoff series because I'll just be frank. I don't know if any of these players will still be on the team next year. I'm really crossing my fingers for Chime here, at least at a minimum. But obviously, I'd love Spica too. But I'm just saying, like I think the most realistic one to stay would be Chime. But we'll have to see about that. So I'm just gonna enjoy these players while we got them, and hopefully they can bring home a winner today. So let's go TSM. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts either on the series or, before or after. If you got predictions, let me know because I'm going to be releasing this like much earlier. I normally wait till noon. That'd only give you guys like 4 hours to watch it. So I'm going to do it a little bit earlier. And then if you watch this afterwards, let me know how wrong or right I was. I'm hoping I'm right, at least on some of it. I generally get the drafts okay. After that, though, it's kind of a toss-up. So we'll see. I want to continue to make this the #1 TSM podcast out there. So please, if you can leave reviews anywhere, that would be awesome. Also, last other thing in the comment section below. Again, I want to evolve this show. I will be evolving this show starting, during the off season. I will probably take a couple weeks off, maybe at least 1, likely 2 weeks after TSM lose, whenever that may be. Again, not anticipating this week, probably after next week. So, anything that you guys think that I can do to improve this show, that you would personally enjoy. You guys who are listening are the loyal fans, the ones who actually care enough to say anything. So please let me know. Comment section below, please. Thank you. I really do want to make this a better show. I want to make this more appealing for you guys and for the masses. So, yeah. We're going to try for a growth mode here during the offseason. Please share this with your friends. You can find me on Twitter at TGH Robert Haynes. You can also find us, the Game House, at TGH Esports. If you didn't see, we just brought in LCS EV, which means the Game House is going to be one of your best sources for all LCS off-season news. Make sure you're watching. Head to thegamehouse.com because you will also see all the pieces and everything posted there for the off-season. And you can also check out, by the time this comes out, my preview and prediction piece will be live with words that are a little bit more coherent than what I'm scrabbling out to you right now. I don't know if scrabbling is the right word, but it sounds like a fun one. With that, thank you for tuning in. The show comes out every Thursday during the playoffs, meaning, yes, the show will come out Thursday next week as well. And it's still exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. I'll see y'all next week.